The first time I saved a life, I was 6 years old. I was having dinner with my parents when I saw my neighbor through my window suddenly fainting on her couch. I suddenly felt a pain in my chest, and I knew that she was feeling it too. That lady was in danger. I made my parents follow me to her house and call 911. She'd been having a heart attack, and the doctors saved her life thanks to our help. That was the day my powers were recognized. You see, I've always been a bit different from others around me. My parents didn't realize it for the longest time. They thought it was just funny that I burped every time they did. They loved me for how I always seemed to know how they were feeling. I was the dream daughter, but they never thought that I was some kind of medical marvel. After many years of testing, we discovered that I had a rare condition called mirror touch synesthesia. I could physically feel what other people feel, so long as I was looking at them. I became an instant hit among the doctors in town. Synesthesia this strong was rare to find, and they were all clawing at the chance to study me. I wanted to help people with what my dad called my superpower. So I answered doctors' questions day after day and let them run countless tests on me. And the day they published their findings, everything changed. I went to school like it was any ordinary day and noticed that the vibe was totally different. People were saying hello to me. They wanted to talk to me and sit with me at lunch. Wait, what? I'd always been the weird, emotional loner. Why was I suddenly Miss Popular? Everyone was curious about me and wanted my attention. Even Selena, the most popular girl in school. When I was heading to class, she pulled me aside. "You're the girl who can feel people's emotions, right?" Yes? Great. I need you to do something for me." Apparently, Selena was in a crisis. She was sure her boyfriend was cheating on her, and she wanted me to watch him while she asked him the truth. "He's too good a liar. The only person he can't lie to is you, Lucia." I don't know. "I'll give you $100. Sold." She took me to the football field where her boyfriend was hanging out with the other players. "Tell me the truth, Sam. Are you cheating on me?" The entire team fell silent as everyone stared at the two. No way, babe. You're the only one for me." Selena turned to me. "Sorry, he's lying. I can feel his guilt." "Sam, you total jerk." "Babe, don't tell me you believe this loony over me." "You bet I do. We're over, jerkface. Come on, Lucia, let's go." Selena stormed away, pulling me along. She took me to her cheerleading gang and told them what I did for her. Before I knew it, I had become a celebrity among the girls in my school. I could tell girls who had a crush on them and who hated them. I even knew if their boyfriends had a secret crush on their sisters. The assignments got crazier by the day, and the payments got bigger. Once my list of clients began to grow, I decided to take my business a step further. I built a simple app that the girls could use to reach me with their problems. I could tell a lot just looking at a photo. The app spread through my school like wildfire. I had a new energy when I went to school now. I was the most popular girl in school, and I loved it. I now had a huge, strong troop of loyal girlfriends. I was invited to every party and sleepover, and my social schedule was always packed. And best of all, the money I made really helped my parents out. I paid off our mortgage and bought them a car. And I had money left over to buy myself an awesome gaming setup and a whole new wardrobe. Life was going great, till the day I decided to ask Nate, the new boy, out. Nate was such a total babe that I knew I had to ask him out. So I made my move at lunch. He noticed me as I came near him, and his boredom changed to fear? Before I could even process his emotions, he picked up his tray and ran away. What was happening? I tried to talk to Nate once more when we were leaving school that day, but one look at me and he ran away again. I looked around me in shock, and that's when I suddenly noticed it. I gasped. There were no boys near me. They'd all formed small groups that hovered at the edges of the parking lot, and they were always looking at me. Even at this distance, I could feel it. I walked towards them, and they literally ran away from me like scared little rabbits. What's up with the boys, Selena? They're scared of you, Luce. They know that if you see them up close, you'll know all their little secrets. So it turned out that my powers were scaring all the boys away from me. I tried to ignore it at first, but it started to get under my skin. First, they stopped partnering with me in class. Then they started wearing hoodies and sunglasses to school to hide their faces from me. Till one day, they even started disappearing from the hallways when they saw me. This was getting beyond ridiculous. As if this wasn't bad enough, this Lucy phobia meant my job was getting harder too. Now that the boys were avoiding me, I was always hiding and wearing disguises to spy on people's dates. Thankfully, the money was still rolling in. But when I didn't get asked out for the spring dance, I was devastated. I turned off my app for a day. I didn't want to hear anyone's problems today. I had enough of my own. Selena called me 5 minutes later. Hey, why is your app not working? Because I don't want to work. Why not? Luce, I want you. It's like life and death. It's Alex. Ugh. Alex was some boy from another high school that Selena had been crushing on forever. He's coming to my party tonight, and I'm gonna finally ask him out. You have to come too because I obviously, totally need you. When I tried to refuse, she offered to triple my rate. I gave in. Fine. Just this last time. I promise I won't need your help once I have Alex. I sure hoped so. Her party was a wild, crowded scene. But even here, the boys took one terrified look at me and moved away. That's it. I'm out, I thought as I stormed off away from them and crashed right into someone, spilling water all over them. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's okay, beautiful. I looked up in surprise to see the most gorgeous boy I had ever laid eyes on. But I ruined your shirt. I don't mind you ruining anything I own. I could feel that he meant it. I blushed. Now, show me where I can clean up. I led him to the bathroom. We talked while we ran through Selena's giant mansion, and it felt amazing. Finally, a boy who didn't look at me like I was a ghost. Then as we spoke, he suddenly took off his shirt to dry it over a heating vent. He looked so hot, I literally wanted to melt. Are you checking me out? No. Liar. He grinned at me. My face was pretty much entirely red now as I turned to leave. Perhaps you could continue checking me out over dinner sometime. I was too shocked to hide my surprise. You're asking me out on a date? I know, it's a bit fast. I mean, I don't even know your name. I gasped. That's why he was so chill. He didn't know who I was. But sometimes you just have a feeling, you know? I knew exactly how he felt. Just as I was about to say yes, Selena showed up behind us. Lucia, Alex, you already met. I nearly passed out. He was Alex? The Alex? Why is he shirtless? Alex answered her while I mentally kicked myself repeatedly, hard. I wanted the one guy I couldn't have tonight, and he wanted me. But that didn't matter. Selena quickly texted me to go away and watch them from a distance because she was gonna ask him out. I made a lame excuse and started walking away when I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was Alex. Hey, before you go, were you gonna say yes? I panicked and blurted out, yes to what? Going out with me? Sorry, no. I walked away hurriedly and sat with them in my vision. I watched Selena ask him out. I felt Alex's disappointment as he said yes. I was disappointed too. Selena begged me to shadow them for 2 dates, just till he asked her to be his girlfriend. With the crazy money she was offering, I just had to do it. I could retire. On their first date, I was very careful and wore my best disguise. I was watching Alex's face over the top of my book when suddenly he looked at me, like right at me. He recognized me. I could feel his confusion and amusement. He was about to come over. I panicked and slid under the table. Nice outfit, Lucia. He walked away without waiting for a reply. I had no answers to give when Selena grilled me. I can't believe he spotted you. Ugh, look, I need you there when I ask him to be my boyfriend. So I'll just do it in a public event, like a party. Unstoppable Selena put together an event faster than I could blink. I went for my last assignment, sulking the whole way there. But then I saw Alex at the party, and he made my heart hurt. Where on earth would I find a boy like him again? Are you ready? I nodded grumpily. She took Alex aside and told him how she felt. The first thing I felt was Alex's polite but firm no. I could sense Selena's anger and disappointment as she turned around and ran away. Just then, Alex turned and walked right up to me. You're not a very good spy, but you're a very good friend. Helping Selena out like this with your powers when you clearly have a crush on me. My face was red again. So what? You have a crush on me? Yeah? But you know what I do. Why aren't you running like the other boys? Because I have nothing to hide. Plus, you're just too gorgeous to ignore. Will you go out with me? Just don't ruin my shirt. I finally said yes. It was so exciting to finally go out on dates with an amazing person. I was blissfully happy till the day I walked into Alex's prom, totally unaware of what was waiting for me inside. All the girls from my school were here. Selena was here too, and she walked up to the stage pointing at me. There she is, girls. There's the awful girl who promised to help me and then stole my boyfriend. The girls began to boo me loudly. Let this be a warning to all of you. Never, ever hire Lucia ever again. The girls began to boo even louder. I wasn't even dating Selena. She's nuts. It's okay, Alex. I could feel the hatred of literally 100 girls right now, but I really meant that. I was done helping them. My life at school went back to usual and people quickly forgot I even existed. They left me alone, but this time I wasn't lonely. I had a lot more confidence and an amazing boyfriend by my side who loved me. With Alex and my parents' support, I finished my education in psychology and began to help people as a licensed therapist. I finally started using my powers the way they were meant to be used, to save lives. I'm the smart one, or that's what my mother always told me. I'm one of 4 sisters. There's my older sister, Kathy, and the twins, Debbie and Joy, and me, Stacy, stuck right in the middle. We were all born within a few years of each other, and honestly, I think my parents had trouble coping with so many little kids running around the house. When I was 4 or 5, my mom started to define us, and not in a good way. Kathy was the pretty one, I was the smart one, and the twins were special. As we got older, it only got more intense. My mom would always tell me that the world is harder on smart girls, so I should expect to fight for everything I wanted. You'll be a scientist and make a big discovery. No, Mama, I want to be a pilot one day. That would be a huge waste of time. The world has plenty of pilots. My mom would then predict the absolute opposite future for my sister Kathy. She would tell Kathy over and over how much the world loves a pretty girl. High school years were the worst. Kathy easily fell in with the cool crowd, and everything was working out for her pretty much as my mom had said. But not for me. Not so much. In the beginning, the smart kids let me hang with them, but after a while, I couldn't keep up. I mean, physics is just not my thing. Dissecting little animals in biology freaked me out, and I had no idea what Shakespeare was talking about most of the time. The smart kids figured out the truth and quit hanging out with me. It turns out that I wasn't any smarter than most of the kids in my class. I had to study really hard to ace a test and work long hours into the night on my homework. It didn't help that Kathy told all of her girlfriends that I was the smart one, and they started asking me to do their homework. At first, I said no, but these were mean girls on top of being popular girls, and they spread a nasty rumor about me. Even my sister spread the rumor around just to make me do her homework. The other kids believed the rumor, and I either got teased or ignored. High school is hard enough without that kind of pressure. I caved. I started doing my sister's homework and special project homework for her friends. They went around school and started taking back the rumor. It worked, and kids no longer whispered behind my back, but I still had no friends at all. It made me think that my mom had been right. My life was hard, and Kathy's was pretty sweet. But it also confused me because I wasn't off the charts smart, just your normal above-average student. The truly crazy smart kids weren't having a hard life. They were all looking at futures with fancy colleges and great jobs. I would just sit in my room and just get so angry about how unfair everything seemed. I really tried to be happy, but I wasn't. I was just lonely and overwhelmed. I tried to talk to my mother about it. I explained that I didn't feel that smart, and yet everyone was expecting me to perform at this really high academic level. I asked her if we couldn't bring those expectations down a notch because I felt like I was drowning. My mom barely heard me, and she certainly didn't understand. "Oh, Stacy, I told you that your life would be hard because of your intellect. Just be patient. Things will get better when you're a grown-up. Don't you get it? I'm not super smart. The future you keep talking about isn't mine." Her eyes narrowed. She got really angry and grounded me for 2 weeks because I raised my voice. I never tried to talk to her about my troubles again, but I had to do something. My sister and her friends kept loading their homework onto my pile. I felt like I never slept, and I had big, dark bags under my eyes to prove it. To make matters even worse, my twin sisters were now in high school with Kathy and me. Whenever they got stuck on something in their homework, they'd go to Mom and ask for her help. "Go ask Stacy to help you. She's the smart one." So they did, and I'd always help them because it was expected of me. I would always help them, even if it meant staying up really late to finish my own work, because that's what sisters do. One day, my dad was out working in the garage on one of his vintage cars. I slid onto a stool and watched him fiddle with the engine. Finally, I asked my big question. "Dad, do you think I'm smart? Really, really smart?" "Sure, Stacy. You're the smart one. You solved that puzzle before your sisters even got started when you were 5. You've always been the smart one." I literally jumped off the stool. What? All of this smart one stuff because I solved a puzzle when I was 5? He looked at me for the first time, surprised, I guess, that I didn't know the puzzle story. "Well, yeah, Stacy. That's when your mom figured out how smart you are." I stood there, stunned. All the pain and struggle of the past few years flooded through me. I ran out of the garage straight to my room and fell on my bed, crying. I wasn't super smart. My parents were super stupid. Okay, that's harsh, but still, my whole life had been shaped because of some silly kids puzzle. I changed that day. The next day, the twins came to my room with a project they wanted me to do for them at the last minute. "Nope, I'm going to bed." They looked at me in shock, and then, "You can't go to bed," the other twin finished her sentence, "because we'll fail the class if you don't help us." I walked over and turned out the lights and crawled into bed. They went crazy and started jumping on me. Get up! You can't do this to us!" "Watch me." The twins were furious and stormed out of the room. I heard them complaining to my mother, and she came into my room a few minutes later to take their side. "What's wrong with you, Stacy? Get up and help your sisters. They're your sisters and deserve your help. This is no time to be selfish and lazy." I ignored her too and dug deeper into the blankets. She finally left and slammed the door. I just lay there breathing heavily. It was scary to say no, but I'd done it. The twins barely spoke to me after that, just because I wouldn't do their homework. My mom never stood up for me, ever. Pretty much the same thing happened when I turned down my sister and her friends. They trapped me in one of the hallways at school. They threatened to start rumors again if I didn't get busy with their work. They were way more frightening than the twins. These girls had expected me to do their college applications and even do their final essays. They had a lot on the line and wanted me to make it all happen for them. Finally, I'd had enough. No. I won't do your work. My work is hard enough. Just leave me alone. I jerked free of my sister's grip and ran away from them. But I never got free. They did start telling horrible stories about me at school, and my sister was the worst of them. My whole time in high school was lonely and pretty horrible. But guys, don't feel sorry for me because I have good news for you. My Story Animated will give $1,000 to one who will subscribe in the next 7 days. Tell your friends, tell your sister, brother, and mom to subscribe now. When I got to college, I had a chance to make a fresh start. I made sure not to act too smart around anyone. Whenever the professor asked me a question in class, I always answered, "I don't know." But I ran into a big problem. I didn't really know who I was. I thought goth girls looked cool, so I tried being a goth girl. I started going to classes dressed in all black with black lipstick, black nail polish, and a spiked necklace. I even met a cool goth guy named Lizard. Not his real name, of course. He was my first boyfriend. It was cool for a while, but the real goth kids sensed I wasn't fully on board and started keeping their distance from me. Being goth wasn't really working out or even that fun for me. Besides, I was getting sick of wearing all black. So one day, I showed up in class wearing a pink sweater set and lavender capris. No more black lipstick or pointy jewelry. A couple of the kids didn't even recognize me. This was fun. People smiled at me more, and the teacher even called on me a couple of times. She didn't even look annoyed that I gave my standard, "I don't know" response to a question. A cute guy from class named Eric invited me to go get coffee with him afterward, and I said yes. I don't think he even realized that I'd been in the class with him all along. We had a great time talking about how hard the class was and just general life things. He asked me out to dinner, and I almost said yes until I remembered that I had a date that night with Lizard. I suggested another night, and we made a plan. All of a sudden, I was dating 2 guys. Of course, there was a catch. I dressed as a goth when I had a date with Lizard, and a preppy girl when I was out with Eric. It got a little crazy around my dorm room. One time, I was all dressed in my goth gear when I got a text from Eric saying that he was running a few minutes late. Oh my gosh, I thought the date was with Lizard. I had to change everything. I crazy fast switched my clothes, hair, and makeup and was literally out of breath when Eric arrived at the door 15 minutes later. It all came to a head when I was out at the club with Eric. We were dancing and having a fun time when I see Lizard come through the door. I freaked out and tried to stay out of Lizard's sight without Eric noticing that I was trying to hide behind him. For a while, it seemed to work. Lizard hung out with his friends and didn't really notice me. I almost had Eric convinced that I had a headache and we should leave the club when Lizard appeared in front of us. "You are the most fake girl I've ever met." I stood there not knowing what to say. Eric jumped to my defense. "Don't talk to my girlfriend that way." "Well, when she's my girlfriend, she dresses goth." "Is this true? Wait a minute. Are you the goth girl that used to be in class?" "I'm still in class. Look, I apologize for not being totally honest with both of you." Too late. Too embarrassed to even look at Eric, I reached out for his hand and he jerked back. "Stay away from me. I don't even know you." I ran to the bathroom and sobbed. They were right. I had become a fake. When I finally came out and made my way to the door, I felt people staring at me and saw them whispering behind their hands. The next time I went to class, I wore my old jeans and a t-shirt. When the professor called on me, I knew the answer, and so I just said it. I tracked down a small flight school and finally took my first flying lesson. It was magical, and I was finally free. I finished college and kept up my training until I actually got my license to fly helicopters. All my mom could say was, "What a waste." I took a deep breath and just smiled at her. She'll never change, but I can. Now I fly rescue and recovery because I know how it feels to be lost. Learning how to fly is the smartest thing I've ever done. I kicked Dad's car again and again. I hate them. I hate them so much. Ugh. They just love making me miserable. They make fun of me. They're mean to me. They think I'm not special. But I'll find out what makes me special one day. Everyone will love me, and they'll see. Hi, I'm Betty, and I hate my family. I'm the youngest child, and I have a mean older sister, Emily. My parents never wanted me, and they never failed to let me know that. Ah, man, I told you we shouldn't have kept the baby. Just look at her. She's so ugly. I'm not taking that thing in my house. That's what my dad said when I was born. And my mom replied, "Oh, shut up. Stop being so dramatic. She can be useful in the house." On my 10th birthday, I asked my mom why they don't celebrate my birthday like they do Emily's. "Oh, don't you know? We didn't plan for you, and we don't want you. Also, we look like a royal family, and just look at you. You look like a maid." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But she wasn't finished. "I think it's time you start earning your keep in this house. Starting tomorrow, you're doing all the house chores. Since you're old enough to ask for a birthday party, you're old enough to work." I knew I wasn't beautiful like Emily. I think I wasn't really beautiful at all, but something down in my soul told me that I'm special in some way. Not bragging, but I just knew it. I just had to find it. The next day, I was napping when my sister barged into my room and slammed the door. I woke up immediately feeling really startled. She stood by the door with a sneaky smile on her face. "Aw, poor baby. Are you scared? I'm so sorry I woke you up." I was so angry. I knew she wasn't sorry. She got a thrill out of making me miserable. She was always trying to embarrass me at school, too. One morning, while I was getting ready for school, she entered my room with a yellow sundress and threw it at me. "Here, you can wear this. It's too outdated for me now, but it's still better than anything you have." I knew immediately that she gave me that dress because she wanted to humiliate me. "Sure," I replied. So I changed some things about the dress to make it more fashionable, and then I paired it with black boots. When I walked into class, everyone was staring at me. I could tell they were impressed by my outfit and sense of fashion. I was so happy. After class, when Emily saw me in the hall, she looked shocked and horrified. "How dare you do that to my dress?" Ugh! With that, she stormed off angrily, and I felt even happier. One day, I saw Emily going through Mom's cupboard and walking away with a box. Of course, they wouldn't mind her taking anything she wanted, but a couple of days later, Mom barged into my room with Dad and Emily right behind her, accusing me of stealing her jewelry. I told her I didn't do it. Then I pointed at Emily. "Why don't you ask your precious daughter? I saw her taking it." Emily gave me an evil smile, and I started to feel suspicious. "Emily would never do that. I'm going to search your room, and if I find it, girl, you'll wish you were never born." What an irony. She searched my room and found the jewelry. I was dumbfounded. Emily must have planted it in my room. I just stood there, speechless. "You thief!" Emily was giggling, and Dad started screaming at me. No matter how many times I said I hadn't stolen it, he just wouldn't believe me. He told me I was grounded for 2 weeks with no phone and no lunch money. As if that wasn't bad enough, he said I had to clean the house from top to bottom. I looked at my dad with hatred. He pampered my mom and Emily, but treated me like dirt. I couldn't take it anymore, so I screamed at them. "I hate you! I hate you guys!" They looked shocked because I'd never stood up to them before. "Just you watch. I'll find what makes me special, and people will love me for it." I stormed out of the room and ran outside to my dad's car and kicked it. It felt good. A week after that, I was looking for my math assignment everywhere. I asked Emily if she had taken it, but she said no. Of course, I didn't trust her, so I waited till she went out with her friends, and then I sneaked into her room. I wasn't surprised when I found it under her bed next to her iPod. I decided to take that too. That's when I discovered my love for music. Whenever I was upset and wanted to escape my family, I would go into my room and listen to songs on the iPod. I would sing along, and it would really calm me down. One day in the cafeteria, I was walking to a table when Emily suddenly threw something on the floor. Before I could stop myself, I had stepped on a banana peel and I slipped, with my lunch flying everywhere. I heard someone say, "What a clumsy fool." I was so embarrassed, I just ran out of there. After that day, I started eating in the school library all by myself. One day during lunch break, I was listening to music on my iPod as usual, and I started singing along when I heard a voice say, "Oh my, you have such an angelic voice." I turned around to see it was the school librarian, Mrs. Shepherd. She looked really impressed, but I didn't believe her. "Thank you, but I don't think there's anything special about my voice." She told me to sing it again, and this time, she recorded it on her phone. I'd never thought about that. She played it back, and I heard the most beautiful tone. At that moment, I realized I'd discovered my gift. I was so ecstatic. I hugged her and said, "Thank you so much. I've wanted to have something special my whole life, and you've made me realize what it is." I rushed home to tell my family about my singing ability. They just stared at me for a moment and then burst out laughing. "What an attention seeker you are, Betty. Just stop making stuff up. You're never gonna be anyone special." After the jewelry incident, I hadn't been able to forgive Dad for not believing me and treating me badly, and he was just doing it again. I wanted to hurt him as much as he had hurt me. So I decided to call his company and accuse him of theft. Dad worked as an account manager for a business firm, and I wasn't exactly sure if he had stole from the company, but someone as horrible as him must be shady, and I wanted him investigated. At the end of my junior year, I was singing in my room when my sister screamed from her room, "Stop squawking like a bird!" I rolled my eyes and yelled, "You would know since you screech like one." Just then, there was a knock at our main door. I ran to open it and found 2 male cops standing there. One of them asked, "Is this the Blackwell residence?" Everyone was in the hall by now, and the cops walked straight over to Dad and said he was under arrest for embezzlement. The company he worked for had discovered that he had been moving their money to an offshore account. Before the cops left, they asked me how I knew my dad was stealing money. I told them I had my suspicions. My family couldn't believe what they were hearing. Dad started screaming at me. "You ungrateful girl! You called the cops on me! I hate you! I can't believe you! I should have listened to your father when he said we shouldn't keep you." My sister could only scream and cry. I couldn't care less. After Dad was sentenced to jail, we became the talk of the town and everyone looked at us with contempt. Mom decided to move us to a small town where we could start afresh. I was so excited because I didn't really have friends in school because my sister had made everyone think I was a loser. The day we moved to our new house, my mom said, "Don't get yourself too excited, young lady. You'll have to fend for yourself now. Now that you've sent your dad away, I'm no longer responsible for you. You should be grateful I haven't disowned you." I rolled my eyes. I don't expect anything less. The next day, I started looking for a job, and I eventually found one in a small antique store as a salesperson. When I was walking back home, I heard someone singing, and I traced the voice to a guy in the park. He sounded beautiful. I sat next to him on the bench and started singing along. He seemed startled but didn't stop, and before I knew it, we'd gathered a crowd. Surprisingly, that became the beginning of my music career. After the performance, the guy introduced himself. "My name is Zach. You have a really nice voice. I've never drawn as big a crowd as you did today." I was so flattered I could only smile. That night, I went home with a skip in my step. Mom noticed my smiley face and asked if I'd gotten a job. I couldn't help spilling out the reason for my excitement, but Mom just rolled her eyes and Emily nastily said, "The townspeople must be deaf, and I'm sure this Zach guy is better than you. You're just jealous because I have talent, and you can't sing a note to save your life." She looked like she wanted to strike me dead, and that made my day. The next day, as I was working at the antique store, I started singing when I thought I was all alone. Just then, the owner came out of the back room. "You have a great singing voice. You should meet my son. He loves to sing too." I was surprised to hear that, but I said I would love to meet him. He called his son, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Zach. We both laughed, then told his dad how we had already met once before. And every evening since that day, we would go to the park and sing. We started making good money, and the townspeople were so friendly and kind to me. Zach welcomed me into their home, and his family became my family. During my senior year at school, I decided to participate in the annual talent show. I was dressing up at home for my performance when my sister locked me in the room. I screamed and banged on the door. "Open this door right now!" She didn't reply. I kept banging on the door. "I will be late for the show, you moron! Give me money and I'll open the door." She was unbelievable. "You dumb fool! It's not my fault you're so spoiled you can't work to earn your own money." I became frustrated and threw my chair at the door. She wanted the money I'd been saving to go to college. I vowed I wouldn't ever share anything with her, even if we were the last 2 humans on Earth. I finally escaped through the window without injuries, and I made it to school just in time. I performed really well, and at the end of the show, an elegant, well-dressed woman walked up to me and said, "You have a great gift. The world needs to know about it." She gave me a card and told me she would love to offer me a music scholarship. Turned out, she was one of the directors at Juilliard and was invited by Zach's dad to watch my performance. It was such an amazing surprise. That day was joyous, and the whole town was thrilled for me. Well, everyone except my family, and I don't care about them.